Welcome to Go Fact Yourself, the Top 10 List podcast.
Great to be here.
Today we're diving into, well, it's a top 10 journey into those moments where huge mistakes, like epic blunders, didn't just cause embarrassment, they actually kind of accidentally rewrote history.
Oh, yeah.
Get ready for top 10 epic fails that accidentally changed the freaking world.
It's amazing how often that happens, isn't it? Not grand plans, but just, oops.
Totally. Think about it. Someone just spectacularly drops the ball and bam, the ripple effects change absolutely everything.
Mm-hmm.
We've pulled together a ton of top research to unpack these just jaw-dropping, how did that happen?
Yeah,
stories.
there's some wild ones in there. Unintended consequences all over the place.
Exactly. Human error, maybe a bit of hubris, and definitely some moments that make you go, WTF? No way that's real.
Definitely a few of those.
So yeah, this isn't just a list. It's a roller coaster, accidental, world-changing screw-ups.
It really makes you think about how fragile history can feel sometimes.
Yeah.
One wrong turn.
Right. Okay, let's kick off our top 10 journey. Number 10, this one. It still blows my mind. NASA losing a spacecraft worth $125 million because of inches.
The Mars Climate Orbiter, 1999.
Yeah.
What's really striking is how a tiny little detail, a unit's mix-up, led to total failure.
A unit's mix-up for Mars.
Yeah. One engineering team used imperial units, pounds force specifically. The other team, they used metric newtons.
Wait, hold on. You've got literal rocket scientists, right, building this super complex machine for millions of miles.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't even using the same, basic measurements.
That's exactly it.
No.
And the result, the spacecraft hit the Martian atmosphere way too low at the wrong angle and just disintegrated, burned right up.
Wow. $125 million. That's an expensive way to learn. You need to double check your units.
You could say that.
Yeah.
It's a pretty stark lesson in just making sure everyone's speaking the same language, technically speaking, especially when the stakes are that high.
It's almost unbelievable. And the top research says they didn't even figure out the error until after the spacecraft was already gone.
That's right. Too late.
Makes you wonder about checks and balances, you know? Have you ever had a tiny mistake just snowball like that? I know I've learned the hard way about double checking things.
Oh, definitely. It really just underscores how in any complex project, even a small oversight can have these huge, unforeseen, and very costly results. It wasn't just about units. It points to potential issues in communication, system checks, the whole process.
Okay, moving on. Number 9 on our top 10 journey. This one's about an East German border guard who kind of accidentally brought down the Berlin Wall.
Yeah, this is an incredible example of how one unguarded moment can just change everything. November 9th, 1989, Günter Schabowski, an East German official, he's at this press conference.
Right.
And someone asks about new travel rules. And he just sort of casually says, almost off the cuff, that East Germans can cross into West Berlin immediately, without delay.
Immediately. But the top research is clear that wasn't the actual plan, was it?
Not at all. The real policy was meant to roll out later, and it had conditions, paperwork. It seems Schabowski either, misread his notes or just fumbled the announcement under pressure.
But that word immediately, that's all it took.
That was the spark.
Yeah.
The news went everywhere super fast. TV, radio.
And people just wept.
Thousands of them. They heard the news and just flocked straight to the Berlin Wall, demanding to be let through based on what Schabowski said.
Wow. And the guards.
The border guards were totally unprepared, confused, getting conflicting orders or no orders, eventually facing this massive crowd. They just opened the gates.
And just like that, the Cold War's biggest symbol, gone. Because of a poorly phrased sentence at a press conference.
Pretty much. It's a stunning reminder of how chance and just pure accident can steer these huge historical moments. A bureaucratic slip-up reshapes the world.
Wild. Okay, number 8 on the top 10 journey. This one's a classic. Involves a farm animal, maybe. The Great Chicago Fire and Mrs. O'Leary's cow.
Ah, yes. 1871. A truly devastating fire. And the story everyone knows, the legend, is that it all started when Mrs. O'Leary's cow kicked over a lantern in the barn.
That's the one. But reading the tough research, it sounds like that might be more myth than reality.
Yeah, most modern historians are pretty skeptical about the cow story. It's a good story, maybe too good. The actual cause, we still don't know for sure.
Well,
but the cow legend stuck. Maybe because it's, a simple, almost folksy explanation for such a huge disaster. Easier to grasp than complex causes.
a single cow causing a fire that kills 300 people leaves 100,000 homeless. Yeah, maybe a bit too simple.
Right.
But what's really interesting is what came after. Chicago rebuilt, and that rebuilding led to all sorts of innovations, like in architecture, the first skyscrapers.
Exactly. So out of that destruction came this massive wave of progress and new ideas. We
Yeah,
reshaped the city, literally built the modern Chicago skyline.
it really makes you think how we often prefer the simple story, even if the truth is way more complicated.
Absolutely. Tragedy spurred innovation in that case.
All right, number 7 on our top 10 journey. This is a business cautionary tale. Kodak. They actually invented the digital camera and then basically killed it themselves.
The classic innovator's dilemma. It's true. Back in 1975, a Kodak engineer, Steve Sasson, he built the world's first digital camera.
Seriously, Kodak, the film company, they invented digital. That's kind of mind-blowing.
It really is. But Kodak's management, they were making so much money from film, right? Billions.
Yeah.
They saw this digital thing, their own invention, as a threat.
They thought it would eat into their film sales?
Precisely. So they essentially shelved it. They didn't invest heavily. They didn't push it. They tried to protect the cash cow, which was film.
And the irony, as the top research highlights, is that digital photography ended up destroying the film market anyway.
Completely.
And Kodak, this giant dominant company, they ended up filing for bankruptcy in 2012.
It's quite tragic in a business sense. What's even crazier is that Kodak held the patents for a lot of the core technology that's now in like every smartphone camera.
Wow. They had it all right there.
They had the keys to the future, but they were too focused on preserving the past.
Such a powerful lesson about adapting, isn't it? You can't cling so tightly to what works now that you miss what's coming next. Can you think of other examples like that? Companies that just missed the boat?
Oh, definitely. You see it in music with digital downloads, newspapers struggling with the internet. It's a common pattern. Success can breed complacency, I guess.
Okay, number 6 on our top 10 journey. This is about a land deal that, looking back, seems absolutely insane, selling Alaska for basically nothing.
Right, 1867. Russia sells Alaska to the U.S. for $7.2 million, which sounds like a lot, but it worked out to about 2 cents an acre.
2 cents. The top research says the Russian diplomat involved, Edward de Stokel, called it a useless icebox.
Yeah, they were having financial troubles, and they just didn't see the value in this vast, remote territory. Many Americans didn't either initially.
It was called Seward's Folly, right?
Yeah.
After William Seward, the Secretary of State who pushed for it, people thought he was nuts.
Exactly. He got a lot of flack for wasting money on this frozen wasteland. But then, of course, they discovered gold.
And oil.
And oil. Plus, its strategic importance became hugely apparent later, especially during the Cold War.
Talk about a long game paying off. Makes you wonder, what things today do we think are worthless that might be incredibly valuable down the road? Some weird tech, maybe?
That's a great question. Value changes so much based on new discoveries, new needs, geopolitics.
Yeah.
What's junk today could be treasure tomorrow.
Okay, hitting the halfway mark. Number 5 on the top 10 journey. This sounds like it's straight out of a spy movie. The fake tank army that fooled Hitler before D-Day.
Oh, yeah. Operation Fortitude. This was an incredibly clever, really sophisticated deception campaign by the Allies. The whole point was to make the Germans believe the main invasion was coming at Calais.
Calais, the closest point to England. Makes sense. But how do you fake an entire army? The top research mentions inflatable tanks. Seriously.
Inflatable tanks, wooden airplanes, fake landing craft, dummy paratroopers, the works. They even broadcast fake radio traffic, created fictional units, assigned real generals to command this ghost army. It was incredibly detailed.
And the Nazis bought it.
Hook, line, and sinker. Hitler was convinced Calais was the target. So he kept crucial panzer divisions there, away from Normandy, even after the D-Day landing started, thinking Normandy was just a diversion.
Wow. So this elaborate fake-out actually worked and helped make D-Day successful. That's actually amazing.
It really is. It shows the power of psychological warfare, of exploiting expectations, and the fact that they used, like, stage magicians and artists to help design the illusions. It has this whole other layer.
Mind games on a massive scale.
Okay.
Okay, number 4 on our top 10 journey. A tech giant stumbling, Nokia just laughing off the iPhone.
Yeah, 2007, the iPhone launch.
Yeah.
Totally changed the game with that big touchscreen. Back then, Nokia was king, absolutely dominant. Keypads were everything.
And Nokia saw this new iPhone and thought, the top research says they weren't impressed.
Not really. The executives basically dismissed touchscreens. They were convinced people wanted physical keys, that tactile feel, so they stuck with their existing designs.
Which turned out to be a bit of a misstep.
A colossal one. Their market share just collapsed over the next few years. They couldn't catch up. Eventually, Microsoft bought their phone business.
From market leader to basically gone, just like that. For a company that once had almost half the global phone market.
Staggering.
Why is it so hard sometimes for successful companies to see disruption coming, even when it's staring them in the face?
Well, it's complex. Sometimes it's being too invested in what works, maybe a bit of arrogance, not understanding the potential of something new, maybe just fear of change. It's tough to bet against your own success.
Okay, speeding towards the end. Number 3 on the top 10 journey. This one's much more recent. A PR disaster played out on social media. United Airlines and, yeah, the world's worst tweet.
Oh boy, 2017. That incident where a passenger was forcibly dragged off an overbooked United flight, the video went viral instantly. People were absolutely outraged.
Understandably. And then came the official response on Twitter.
Yeah. United's first tweet was, let's just say, not great. They apologized for having to reaccommodate customers.
Reaccommodate. Like, they offered him a voucher. It sounded so sterile and just completely missed the tone of the situation.
Totally tone deaf, and the backlash was immediate and massive. The top research notes, their stock value dropped like a rock, $1.4 billion wiped out in a day.
$1.4 billion because of a tweet, basically. Well, the incident and the tweet.
Right. It just shows the insane power and speed of social media now. One wrong step in communication can cost you hugely, reputationally and financially. Apparently, the CEO hadn't even seen the video before that tweet went out.
Oof. A lesson in crisis communications, I guess.
A very public, very expensive lesson.
All right, down to the final two. Number 2 on our top 10 journey. This one is bizarre. Napoleon's hemorrhoids possibly changing history at Waterloo.
Slaps. Yeah, this one's definitely out there, but it's a persistent historical anecdote. The story goes that during the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, Napoleon was suffering from a really, really bad case of hemorrhoids.
Ouch. Okay. And how does that affect, commanding a massive battle?
Well, the theory is the pain was so bad he couldn't comfortably sit on his horse for long periods.
Right.
Which meant he couldn't easily ride around the battlefield, survey the situation, react quickly, issue orders effectively. All the things a commander needs to do, especially on horseback back then.
So these delays and his reduced mobility might have actually contributed to his defeat against Wellington.
That's the claim. And the top research mentions there are contemporary accounts, even from his doctor apparently, that support the idea he was suffering significantly around that time.
Wow. It's kind of humbling, isn't it? A major world historical battle potentially influenced by something so personal and mundane.
It really is. A reminder that even history's giants are, human with human frailties. And sometimes those frailties have unexpected massive consequences.
Okay, we've arrived at number 1. The top epic fail on our top 10 journey that accidentally changed things. And it's a very modern one about forgetting to pay a bill. Specifically, letting Google.com expire.
Chuckles. Yeah, this actually happened in 2015. A Google engineer, through some oversight, just didn't renew the Google.com domain name. It lapsed.
You're kidding? Google.com, the domain name for Google. It just expired.
It did, for a very short time. And guess what? Someone bought it. A former Google employee actually managed to purchase Google.com for $12.
$12 for Google.com? He must have freaked out.
You'd think so. He realized immediately what had happened and reported it straight back to Google security. They canceled the sale and got it back, obviously.
Thank goodness.
But for about 1 minute, technically, he owned maybe the most valuable piece of internet real estate there is. The top research confirms this.
That's insane. It just shows how much relies on these tiny details, doesn't it? Our whole digital world balanced on someone remembering to click renew.
Absolutely. It highlights the surprising fragility sometimes of the systems we depend on every day. A simple human error could have caused unimaginable chaos online.
Because you think about all the invisible stuff holding things together. Wild. Okay, before we wrap up, let's hit the fact blast zone. Some quick bonus mini fails.
Go for it.
Alfred Nobel accidentally inventing dynamite, trying to make safer explosives, then feeling so guilty he started the Nobel Peace Prize.
Right, the irony.
Theodore Géricault's painting The Raft of the Medusa, it exposed government corruption so effectively it actually led to reforms in the French Navy, art-changing policy.
Powerful stuff. Then there's the CIA's MKUltra, their mind control experiments with LSD that kind of unintentionally helped kickstart the whole psychedelic counterculture.
Talk about unintended consequences. And Yahoo passing up the chance to buy Google for $1 million. Ouch. Now worth what, over $1 trillion?
Yeah, that one stings.
A Scottish meteorologist who stubbornly denied plate tectonics, holding back geology for decades.
Science isn't always smooth progress.
And the weird one, deliberately destroying the world's last smallpox samples. The reasons are still kind of murky.
Some truly strange and impactful bonus fails there.
They really are. A lot to think about.
Definitely. Shows how history is just full of these weird turns.
Well, that wraps up our top 10 journey through some of history's biggest oops moments that somehow ended up changing everything.
Yeah, from metric mix-ups to expired domains. It's a reminder that huge changes often come from the most unexpected, sometimes embarrassing places.
We hope you got a few WTF, no way that's real moments out of that top research. What stood out to you? Which accidental revolution was the most surprising?
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It really does. And here's something to chew on. What tiny mistake happening right now, maybe a typo in an email, a missed line of code, could be quietly setting off a chain reaction with massive consequences we won't see for years.
That's a slightly terrifying thought. Makes you appreciate when things actually go right.
For sure. Remember to share, rate, and follow. Go fact yourself for more trips into the weird side of history and knowledge.
Until next time, go fact yourself.